Hello, everybody out there. Thank you so much for joining Stella Live tonight. It's a Friday, it's 6 o'clock. I hope you've got a rosé in your hand. I'm Marianne Jones, Editor-in-Chief at Stella Magazine, and I'm delighted to be joined in a couple of minutes by influencer and actor Tanya Burr. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping things. Please join in our chat and ask plenty of questions. The chat button is there on your right, so join in. There'll also be a couple of pop-up messages that you can either interact with, or if you needs be, you can excuse me, turn them off. So without further ado, hello, Tanya.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Have you got a glass of rosé in your hand?
No, sadly not. I've got a giant glass of water that I think is some kind of beer glass. That
I've got water too. It's amazing to have
very hot. So
it's so hot today. Yeah, as
I
said, thank you for everyone for joining us, because it's boiling, and maybe you're in your garden watching this. So how has lockdown been for you, Tanya?
Lockdown has been a real roller coaster, I would say, because well, firstly, I just have to say I'm very lucky. I can't complain about my lockdown. I'm in my home in London and I'm safe and life is good, and I live with one of my oldest friends, Emma, who I grew up with, and so that's all lovely. But in terms of kind of mentally how I found lockdown and work, the first kind of 6 weeks I felt so zen and so happy and just really kind of at peace, because nothing was, you're not running around town anymore, and you just find this new kind of peaceful element to life that I just kind of didn't really have before. So I was really enjoying it, and work kind of stopped for me, and the whole film industry shut down, so there was no auditioning, nothing going on there, and work with brands on Instagram really kind of shut down because everyone was kind of freezing marketing budgets, and all brands and agencies having a bit of a panic. So I wasn't really working, to be honest. So I was just very chilled. And then I think work started back up, and that was great. But now it's kind of, we're in this weird place where life's starting to get back to normal. You can now do this, and you can do that, but you still can't do this. And I'm finding that quite difficult. I just kind of, I think it would be easier if it was just fully back to normal or in full lockdown. I'm not very good with the kind of the interim.
How have you found sharing with a mate? Because in many ways I envy you that, because I've got to share it with a husband, 2 sons and 2 dogs, and they're driving me absolutely nuts. I mean, have you fallen out, or have you got on, and how's that been?
We have been really kind of smug about our situation, because we just get on so well, and we're almost like sisters, apart from we don't fight like sisters, but we're so close, and it's just so easy between us, because I feel like I've had some friends isolating with friends and they've disagreed on certain things, or it's been slightly awkward in some situations, but Emma and I have such kind of an open relationship that we can just discuss anything that could be bothering us, but we really haven't had anything. Like, we've just had the nicest time together, and she's a school teacher, so she's been mostly working from home, but sometimes been in the community classroom. So it's been really nice to have her working at home with me.
And you had your 31st birthday in lockdown, didn't you? What did you do for that?
What did I do on my birthday? I went to Battersea Park and did a walk, and just kind of, all of my friends have escaped London for lockdown. Most of my friends have. So I wasn't with my friends, and obviously my family are in Norfolk. So I just had a really nice day with Emma, like went to Battersea Park, had a picnic, went for a big walk, and then did a barbecue in the garden, had some drinks, had a cake. It was very chilled, but it was nice. Then just had all of my loved ones on FaceTime all day long. My grandparents were first to FaceTime me when I was in bed in the morning, opening presents.
Yeah, and how has your sort of style changed in terms of beauty and fashion?
Oh God, I really do miss dressing myself, like to go places. I do miss that. I mean, I've put on like a little summer dress today, but it's not particularly stylish. It's just something it's like easy to throw on.
Tell us where that's from. It's lovely.
This is from Brandy Melville.
Gorgeous.
Very cheap and cheerful, but I love it. I've actually had this dress for about 3 years, and I just think it's a really good one. But yeah, my style has been, well, in the beginning of lockdown when it was cooler, was just tracksuits every single day. And then now that it's been hot, I just wear like little cropped vest tops and tracksuit shorts, which have now become a thing.
No, really?
Yeah, so they look,
a pair of those.
Yeah, they look like grey tracksuit bottoms, but they're just cut off into short shorts, and that's what I've been living in when it's been hot. And then beauty-wise, I was so good in the beginning of lockdown. Really got into like face mask nights, and especially because work was so quiet, I had loads of time to like focus on my skin and myself, and I was doing kind of face masks all the time and sleeping with oil on my skin and being really good and not wearing much makeup in the day. And when I do wear makeup, I tend to keep it quite natural, like what I have on now. This took me 2 minutes to do before doing this evening.
Your fans will all want to know what you have done. So what are you wearing?
So I just put on NARS Creamy Concealer. I just dot that where I feel like I need it and then blend it in. And then a bit of bronzer kind of around, you know, those areas. And then highlighter. I use the YSL stick that you just like get it on there. Tiny bit of, I actually don't know what brand it is. I'm using this new thing. It's like a little tri-feather pen that you just do your brows with.
Oh, wow.
And then just mascara and then lip balm. And
you're good to go.
Good to go. So yeah, very quick and easy.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to sweat it all off anyway.
Oh, tell me about it. Now, we did a lovely cover interview with you for Stella in 2019, where you just looked amazing, and you were very honest in the interview as well. 2019 has been described as your annus horribilis. Your marriage ended, you left YouTube, and your 3.4 million followers as well. Was it the start of a sort of brave new world for you that year?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, with everything that happened in my life, obviously my life changed a lot. The leaving YouTube was really, that was a very gradual thing for me. It didn't feel like I suddenly decided to leave YouTube last year. It was 2018, I think I uploaded hardly at all because I was so busy. I did a play, so I was kind of off doing that every day for a few months and didn't have time to do anything else. And then I just kind of didn't want to upload to YouTube anymore. It just wasn't a platform that I was enjoying. It's not a platform that I personally use. Like,
isn't it an age thing or a stage of life thing?
I don't know. Maybe it is an age thing. None of my friends use YouTube, so maybe it isn't. I don't know. Do you watch YouTube?
No, my kids do, but no, I don't.
Yeah, maybe it's an age thing, but I never go on YouTube. I actually went on YouTube for the first time. I don't remember the last time I kind of typed it in on my computer. I don't have it set or anything. And I went on because I wanted to go and watch an actor's audition tape that they did. What's his name? Dacre Montgomery, who plays Billy in Stranger Things.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, his audition tapes on YouTube, and it's so good and always like gets me like pumped because I've been auditioning this week. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go watch that. And I thought, God, I haven't been on YouTube in so long. But it was just kind of also people on YouTube, you tend to have to share quite a lot of yourself, which I was quite happy to do when I was younger. But as I've got older and been used to being in the public eye, and that's kind of grown me being in the public eye, and I just think I want to kind of keep my life to myself, and I am naturally quite a private person. So
that
Instagram,
must be tricky. Yeah, because you have 3 million followers on Instagram. I mean, how do you keep your private life private? It's
really easy. Like it is really easy, and I do enjoy it. I'm kind of well, I don't know what the word is, kind of going back on what I'm saying a bit. What's that word? But because
contradicting
myself. Thank you. I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm saying I'm a private person, blah blah, but I do enjoy sharing. but I enjoy sharing what I feel comfortable with and just little
Yeah.
bits and bobs. Like I really enjoyed, I didn't post photos for my birthday because I felt like, oh, my followers need to see this or they'll be demanding to see it. I was genuinely excited to post those photos and share little snippets for my birthday, but no one really knew like who I was with or what I was doing and that kind of thing.
So you
I
never,
think,
yeah, sorry.
and
You
I
never
think
feel
that's how I feel
pressure to
comfortable.
kind of overshare. I mean,
No.
I've known quite a few influencers for quite a few years, and you sometimes feel that they're slightly pressurized to slightly share a bit more of their lives, slightly share even more. Do you just draw a line somewhere?
I just don't feel pressure to do that, perhaps because that's not how I have ever done business online. I'm not someone who's ever, you know, gained more followers or made more money from sharing loads of my private life. That's not what I do. I think people follow me for me and what I post, which is what I wear, what I'm up to, what I'm eating. And so it's never been a pressure for me to feel that I need to share private life to keep people interested, because people have always been interested in just me, and so I don't have to show loads of extra stuff that I don't feel comfortable with.
I remember you said to us in that interview that you never Google yourself.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I Googled myself when I was younger, and I just think you just see so much. Of course, there are like trolls and haters out there, or you might just see a photo of yourself and you're like, oh my God, I hate that. Why is that online? And I just think it's not healthy to read other people's opinions of you, other people who don't know you. Like if I was really doing something wrong in my life, I'm pretty sure that someone close to me would tell me. I don't need to read someone's opinion who doesn't know me and doesn't know what's going on in my life.
With the sort of post-COVID landscape that we're all now, you know, approaching, do you ever feel, you know, it's really changed the landscape for influencers? You know, do you think a little bit more about what you post, or have you been accused of being flippant, for instance, when you've not meant to be? How do you think things have changed in this new landscape?
With what people are posting online, I think I've really enjoyed people's content on Instagram during COVID, because that's the kind of content that I post anyway and that I enjoy seeing, and I find it exhausting. My least favorite time to go on Instagram, and I love Instagram and I do absorb a lot of content from there and watch it and stuff, and my least favorite time is fashion weeks, because I just don't want to see more people like super dressed up and going to a million different shows and then just seeing tons of models walking down the catwalk and then seeing it from 20 different people who I follow, their perspectives. I find that really kind of boring. What I love seeing is people having their coffee in the morning in their garden, or what they're up to, or seeing what tracksuit they're wearing. And I find that content, I don't know, I guess just more relatable and it's more real life. So I really enjoy that content. I wonder whether influencers who weren't posting that stuff and who were posting more kind of thought through content, and I wonder if they've seen a spike in interest, because I've definitely started enjoying influencers that I wasn't before. I'm now thinking, God, I love your content. I love your COVID content. It's great. So
do you think there's content though now that is just not right for now? I mean, what do you think, from your viewpoint, people just won't want to connect with going forward, or will want to connect with?
I think that people will be excited, like when we can finally travel again and stuff like that. I think people will be excited to see it. I don't know. Like, what kind of thing do you mean?
Well, I mean, do you think that in this world now, it's, you know, it's an increasingly serious world? I mean, what are your followers now interested in? What do they want from you? I mean, is it enough now to talk about beauty or fashion in the way that maybe we used to, or do we need to kind of do new things? Do you feel like you have to use yourself as a platform for other things, for example?
Okay, I definitely think there's still a place for beauty and fashion and anything lifestyle, for sure. Like I was actually in Miami and I flew back to London. On the day I flew to Miami before lockdown, coronavirus is obviously a thing. People were talking about it, but I don't think there'd been any cases in the UK, or if there were, it was like very minimal, and you were still allowed to travel and do whatever, and it didn't feel that scary. And when I was in Miami, it really wasn't. Everyone was still out to dinner, out in the clubs, like it was totally normal.
Yeah.
The day I flew home, that was when there started being big announcements from Boris on the TV, and it started there was talk of this lockdown, and it got really serious. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, I feel really like, are people going to think I was a bit mad for being in Miami? And so I just put up a post saying, I've just got back to London and it feels like I've returned to a completely different city.
Really?
And life feels all of a sudden quite scary and I'm not sure what's happening. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just good to be honest and say how you really feel, and that's kind of how I felt. And then I think I did feel a bit weird for a while. Yeah, I remember in the first kind of week of lockdown, I thought, can I post normal content and not mention coronavirus and not mention like, oh, I hope you're staying safe? But I just I mentioned it on my stories, and people said that they really just needed some content that wasn't just people freaking out about coronavirus. And so the first thing I did, I think, was a baking video, and I made, at the beginning, I did say, listen, like, this is a really scary time. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling anxious. I felt anxious too. I hope you're all staying safe and washing your hands and everything that was the guidance at that time. But then I just went on and did a really fun video, because I know that I find it relaxing to watch baking videos. I think that's why people like watching me do it on IGTV. And I just, I think it was nice to kind of mention it and acknowledge how people are feeling and people's worries, but not run on about it. Because I remember I stopped watching the news, which I never do, because I am someone who, I keep up with the news and I think it's important to know what's going on. But I was watching the daily updates, the daily coronavirus updates in the build up to lockdown. But then as soon as it was lockdown on that Monday that we first got locked down, I thought, I know the rules now. I don't need to watch it. It was I was finding it really overwhelming. And I think people don't want to go to Instagram and then suddenly all they see is that. I think it's important to acknowledge things.
Yeah.
And not just totally ignore that it's happening.
Sorry, but this whole baking thing, honestly, so many people I know who are like really quite serious people, the number of soda breads I've seen pop up on my feed. I think that literally, that's what people are doing, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's really
so therapeutic.
Yeah, I think it's really therapeutic, because you set yourself this task and you know that by the end of it you're going to have created something. And I think also for creative people, they're feeling really it's really tough being in lockdown. I think the amount of creatives that don't have creative outlets right now, and so I think it's a nice way to do something. And then in terms of feeling like I have to use my platform, I've always been quite vocal about how I feel about things, and obviously I'm an ambassador for UNHCR, so I speak.
Yes, tell us about that.
I do speak about things. So I've worked with them for, when did I start working with them? It was last year. I can't remember what month exactly it was, maybe September time. And I've really enjoyed working with them because I've just learned so much, and that was how I wanted to work with them, and the reason why I thought they were the perfect people for me to work with, because they were so willing. And Coco, who I work with there, she is just so knowledgeable, and I just love, like, we've just been for dinner and like got drunk together and just had so many good conversations, and I just feel like I'm just sucking the knowledge out of her brain and just trying to absorb it all, because she's so clever and she just knows so much. And I just think that knowledge is power with any of these situations. So with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's the focus, which I think has been so important, the focus online and on social media has been about knowledge and about educating yourself. And that's what I do with UNHCR, because there was so much, I always felt passionate that refugees have a right to be here, and I know a refugee personally.
You invited one over for dinner with you and friends, didn't you? You invited a guy.
So I had Ahmed, who is a Syrian refugee who's resettled here in the UK, and and his story is amazing. It's really, and I say amazing, obviously it's really devastating too. And his parents were both killed in Syria, and he had a really difficult journey to get here. But it's an amazing story with what he's created with his life now, because he doesn't dwell on his past. I mean, he cried and I cried when we were stood in my kitchen and he was telling me the story, of course, but he focuses on his life now and what he can do with his knowledge of what happened to him in Syria and educating people here. He's also started a supper club called the Aleppo Supper Club, so you can book him. Wow. I would actually really recommend it. You would love it, Marianne.
Would I? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, so you can, when we're allowed to have dinner parties again, you can invite some friends over who you think, maybe invite some friends who are passionate about the rights of refugees, but also invite a friend who might be feeling hostile towards refugees, because people do here in the UK. And and I think everyone will leave feeling like they've learned so much, because he basically comes and he cooks you dinner, but then he sits and eats dinner with you and your friends, and
what a great idea.
He'll tell you his story about how he got here to the UK and how UNHCR helped him. And it's crazy because he is lucky in some ways, because he was from a wealthy Jewish family, and so he had good education, he could speak English, so coming here was obviously so difficult, but then in some it's less difficult than other refugees who get here and don't speak a word of English. It's really difficult for them to kind of become a part of our community. So he teaches English and helps other refugees who aren't as lucky as him and can speak the language and stuff.
You've also been very honest in the past about your own mental health, that you've had anxiety and depression. Did you feel that sharing helped you and helped others?
I don't think it helped me, sharing. I actually found it really difficult.
Did you?
And I do find it difficult. I mean, I find sharing really difficult because it brings it all back up for you. And talking about a certain time in your life can be really triggering. But I thought it was important to share because when I first started having anxiety and depression was when I was about 13 or 14. And there was nowhere for me to look to see someone who I thought, oh, I can relate to her and I feel like she's kind of my friend through the internet, which is, I know sounds really cheesy, but that's how some people who follow me feel, because they're like, I've been following you for 10 years, I feel like I know you, but you also look like you have your life together. So it's quite reassuring when you see someone like that suddenly come out and be like, I really suffer with this. And I didn't have anyone to look up to like that, or to look to, not even to look up to, just to look to. I had nobody, and it made it a really terrifying experience instead of just a horrible one. I don't think it makes it any easier, because anxiety and depression are just awful, and I think they will be awful until you kind of come to terms with it and get your own therapy or medication or whatever kind of route you decide to go down. But I think that it makes it less scary knowing that other people are going through it with you.
What helps you personally with anxiety?
Therapy and coping mechanisms that I've learned through therapy. I personally have never taken medication, but and sometimes I'm tempted because I'll just be like, oh my god, like coping mechanisms are so hard, you have to be so disciplined, and even like for me, hangovers are a real nightmare for my anxiety, but and so I will tell myself like, nope, you need to like stop when you've had 3 drinks, blah blah. But obviously sometimes I will literally just go and have like a blowout night, and then I'll feel awful the next day and be like, why did I do this? That's not in my coping mechanism rule book. But yeah, I definitely think just learning how to retrain your brain and rewire your brain, and I've done a lot of work with that over the years.
Do you think there'll be a mental health explosion after, post COVID-19?
Yeah, I think it is really worrying, and I think it's just important that people, that's why things like Mental Health Awareness Week and Day, they're called awareness, and I think that that's so important that that's in there, because I just think it's so important to be aware of your mental health. We all have mental health, the same as we all have gut health and brain health, heart health. Like, we all have mental health, and I just think it's really important to be aware of where yours is at. And mine might be at a different place tomorrow to where it is today. It's, you know, it's just like riding that wave. And my sister, who made me like these little bracelets, she made herself a bracelet that says waves on it, just to remind herself to just ride the wave and know that no mind state is permanent. I might be feeling really good right now talking to you, and then I might have a bit of a down moment later, but then I might have a really good moment when I have dinner with Emma later. And, you know, it's just about kind of riding the wave.
Changing the subject, tell us more about your acting career.
Okay, so the lockdown was really kind of, I was very lucky because I just finished a film, and me and the whole like production team and cast, we were all really kind of smug about that, because we were like, oh my god, we're so lucky that we managed to shoot that. We shot it at the perfect time, and the shoot, I knew that I was doing it, and before we started shooting there was talk of the dates moving to, I think, April, and the director was just like, thank God. And it was the director that pushed for it to be shot in February. And he was like, thank God I pushed, because otherwise we would still be sat here without a film. Whereas now it's in the edit. And I've actually seen a few clips from it. That's a film called Venice at Dawn. And
do you know when that's out?
No, because it's an independent. And I think I've done like 5 films now, and they've all been independent apart from one, which was Twist, that I did last October, which was for much bigger budget, and it was for Sky Cinema. And it's so interesting because with a big budget film, they usually already have the distribution. Like, it was for Sky, so I know that that's coming out on Sky, I think January. It was supposed to be August, but that got pushed because of COVID, so I think it's coming out in January on Sky. Whereas independent films, they go to festivals. So I really hope that this film that we've done, it gets through the edit in the next couple of months, and then they just sell it to like Netflix or Amazon or Sky or something, and just sell it and get it out there. But I think the director really does want it to do the festival run, and he was really upset because he had a film that was supposed to premiere at Tribeca during lockdown, and that was going to be a big moment for him. So I think he would quite like to kind of do Tribeca with our film, or one of the other big festivals. So I'm not sure about this one, but I'm really excited about it because that was my first lead role in a film. And then I haven't auditioned a lot, to be honest, in lockdown. It's been really difficult and really slow. But I have had a big audition for another lead in another independent film that looks really great this week. And
you did your audition this week?
Yeah, so I auditioned.
How did it go?
It went really well. They liked me, but there's other people up for it. So the director's choosing, and I won't. There's nothing I can do. And I've been in this position a few times now. I started getting there last year to the point where, because basically it goes in stages. They'll get like 100 people to take for a role, or sometimes thousands. And then they narrow it down to their favorite kind of 6 to 10, and then the director chooses between those people. And I got down to like the final lot a couple of times. One time I even got asked to go and like meet the writers and meet the producers and the director, and got on the train to Leeds and did that, and then didn't get the part. So like I feel like
world, Tanya.
It's hard when you just, because when you get closer, you suddenly you're getting closer and closer, and you're like, oh please, 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 but there's nothing you can do. At the end of the day, it might just be that they, you know, there's 3 girls and they're all lead roles, like an ensemble cast, these 3 girls, and it might just be that they've already chosen a girl, like they want someone to play one of the other roles who's got blonde hair and looks like me, so they don't want another one that looks like me, so they'll pick someone else. It, you know, it can come down to anything.
How do you cope with sort of personal criticism, because you've got so many followers and you're scrutinized, you know, for everything from maybe, you know, what you're wearing to what you weigh? How how do you switch off, and how do you cope, or do you just let it ride over you because you've been doing this for a long time?
Maybe it does ride over me more now because I've done it for a long time. It really bothered me when I was younger.
Yeah.
It really did. And I think there was a lot more of that on YouTube than there was on Instagram.
Yeah.
I used to like get bullied all the time for having a double chin. And it's like, you know, you just have one of those faces where you get a double chin. Like I don't have a strong jaw, I'm sorry. And and I would get bullied all the time for that, and it would make me just hate myself and feel so bad about myself. And I just think, God, if those people knew how they were making me feel when they wrote those comments, I bet they'd feel really bad, because I bet they're not even really mean people. They're just probably feeling bad about their day and feeling a bit crap and sad, and maybe they're suffering with depression or something like that. You never know what someone else's struggle is. And it just makes them feel better to take down someone else. But to me, I let it really personally affect me, because I started this when I was 20, so I was young and impressionable.
Yes, you really were.
Whereas now I feel like I'm older. As you get older,
you're still young, Tanya, to me.
I'm old, I'm 31. But but as you get more comfortable in your own skin and you get more confident when you're older, you just care less. Also on Instagram is just such a great platform, because you just don't see as much crap. Like I rarely see stuff that upsets me.
Yeah, it's positive. It's a positive. I think it's, I mean, Twitter, I'll go nowhere near. I just can't bear it.
I don't
have heart palpitations when I go on Twitter. But Instagram it's just it's a community, isn't it? It's much more positive.
Yeah, and I do think that, yeah, I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the kind of bubble that you're in and not realize what else is kind of going on and what kind of people there are out there. But I feel like I'm quite lucky in that the community of people who follow me on Instagram seem to be really great. And even things like with the Black Lives Matter movement on Instagram recently, I saw that there was a lot of posts online saying, don't be scared of losing followers, post about Black Lives Matter. And I thought, God, that didn't even cross my mind, because I just trust that my audience are, because of all the conversations I've had with them over the years about different things that matter to me, and their kind of how passionate and receptive they've been to those conversations and been willing to have them with me. It didn't even cross my mind that it would annoy them if I posted about the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And it's been really, really great to be able to kind of share that with my followers, and they've been sharing stuff with me too and been helping me. So I think it's really great.
Talking about your followers, should we segue into some lovely questions?
Yeah.
We have Sarah here, Sarah Davis, asking, do you think influencers are here to stay, or do you think that they'll now become obsolete?
I think influencers are probably here to stay, because, and I find it really difficult. Me and Marianne, we've had loads of conversations about this word influencer, haven't we? Because I do call myself an influencer, but I would also call Marianne an influencer. I'm kind of talking to the person who asked this question.
Not this one. No.
So,
Sarah.
So Sarah, I would say that Marianne is just as much, probably more than an influencer than me. I mean, you can reach more people than me. There's more people read the Telegraph than follow me, and you're the editor. So I just think that, I mean, there's so many actors that I follow, or musicians that are influencers, because I follow them maybe not because of their music or their acting. I might follow them because they're stylish and I like what they're wearing, and they post that on Instagram too. So I just feel like influencer is a funny term, because I think that it has started to apply to just like bloggers or people who are influencers for their full-time job and don't do anything else. But I think that influencers are everyone who is online with a following that's big enough that they are influencing people, and they're sharing either what they wear, how they work out, like what they eat, how they do their makeup, what they read. There's activists, influencers, all that stuff. I just think it's such a broad thing, and it is the way we live our lives now. We take inspiration from social media. So I think they're probably here to stay.
Lucy wants to know, what are your new lockdown staples?
My new lockdown staples, Cadbury's caramel chocolate bars.
Oh yes.
You can buy them in a pack of 4 from Sainsbury's, and I love them. I eat one a day, sometimes 2. So those. What else is a lockdown staple?
What about in terms of your kind of, you know, I suppose we've talked about your style, but is there anything that you just think, oh my God, I didn't think about this before, but I need that now?
Lots of hoodies.
Oh,
Also, I've been loving, I know I'm going to sound like a Brandy Melville ambassador, and I'm not, but I have bought their grey and black hoodies. I think they're called the crystal hoodies, which sounds gross, like they're going to be covered in crystals. They're not. It's just a plain hoodie, but it's cropped, so they look really nice, because everything I wear, if I wear a dress, it goes in at the waist. If I wear shorts, they're high-waisted, or jeans, they're high-waisted. So it's nice to have a hoodie that you can just throw on, that doesn't kind of cut you off at your hips, because my hips are quite wide. So so I love their cropped hoodies. Really cute. I have it in grey and black. What else? Because I haven't shopped online a lot in lockdown.
You haven't?
Good. And obviously I do get gifted a lot of clothes as well. I have enjoyed it. If I've been sent like a pretty summer dress, I'm like, oh, it's nice to put a dress on once in a while, because I can feel a bit sick of dressing really kind of like just tank tops and denim shorts. Like, it's cute for a day, and then you just start not feeling yourself sometimes.
It's been so nice to put a dress on today. I can't tell you. I just was beside myself with excitement.
Yeah, what have you been wearing in lockdown?
Well, you know, I do like dresses, but I've been wearing at first just sort of tracksuit pants and sloppy sweatshirts, which aren't me at all, really aren't me. I didn't know who I was. And so just going back to dresses is just so simple and nice, isn't it? Just feel nice.
I think it's really important. If dresses are a big part of your identity, I think it's important to wear them and not to lose that part of yourself.
Now we have Susan here saying, which makeup do you advise for oldies? Susan, oldies, really? But that's her question. She probably mean, do you mean a post 35, Susan? How old are you? We need to know. What would your advice be?
I don't know. What does my mum wear? I think my mum wears the same stuff as me, because she just gets recommendations from me. So I think my mum wears NARS tinted moisturiser. I love that. I just think, I don't know. I think wear whatever makes you feel good. But I feel like I'm just going to go on what I think looks good on my mum. And my mum is in her 50s.
In her 60s, did you say?
She's in her 50s.
In her 50s, yes. Yeah,
she's in her 50s. And I think she looks good when she doesn't need, she's got really good skin. She doesn't need much on her skin. I think it looks really good when she defines her eyes. So has like a little bit of like brown like shadow near the lash line, and then just mascara, and then just something on her lips, because I always say to her lips can get a bit pale sometimes. So I feel like she needs a little bit of colour on the lips. That's it, really.
We all need colour on our lips. Yeah. So Anne is asking, how often do you post, and is it pressurising knowing that there's an expectation for continuous messaging? Do you ever have a day off?
I do have days off for sure. This week has been hectic because of so I feel it's also just felt more hectic because of the heat. It's really hard working in the heat, and there's my house gets so hot, like you just wouldn't believe. But yeah, I totally have days off. I need them for sure. But also I'm not like a normal, again, talking about this whole influencer thing. I follow some influencers where that's what they do, that's their full-time thing, and it's not for me, so I don't feel that pressure. And if I don't want to upload for 2 weeks, I won't upload for 2 weeks. Like, I never think, oh, I must upload. I genuinely share what I want to share, when I want to share it. And I think that's kind of how I've built my brand. So if I was to suddenly change that and have like a strategy and be like, well, I post Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and I do an IGTV on a Thursday, I literally post whatever I want, whenever I want, unless I'm working for a brand and it's contracted. When it has to go live, then I will obviously have to do it. But when it's my normal, just organic, non-sponsored content, I just put it up whenever I feel like it.
But sometimes you do feel, don't you, that people, you know, big influencers are doing that very thing. I need to post now, and now at this time for that brand. I mean, I suppose that's just the way it is, isn't it?
I think I don't actually follow a lot of like very like that kind of classic influencer. I don't follow that kind of content because it doesn't interest me, because it doesn't feel real. Whereas if I was to take a photo today of me now, I would post it max like 2 hours later. I'm really kind of instant with my content, and I think that's kind of content that I like to consume. And I'm not saying everyone likes that, otherwise I would have more followers, but like I think that's what my audience like, is that it's just genuine and it's just in the moment. And so I don't post loads of like throwbacks and stuff. I like it to be like, this is what I'm doing today.
And then John says, how do you, sort of said this, but how do you respond to negative social media posts?
I tend not to respond because I just think that's what they want. If it's really relevant for me to respond, then I would. But I don't tend to get a lot of negativity on my photos on Instagram. It's quite good. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I thought, shall I respond to this? Shall I not? No, I think you just have to kind of rise above it.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got lots of hellos, but I think we can probably wind it up there. Tell me though, before we go, Tanya, July the 4th, the grand reopening of some things. What's the first thing you're going to do?
I am going to get my hair done because my roots are literally down to my ears.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, but my hairdresser's going to come and do it in my garden, so we haven't got to worry too much. But yeah, she's coming and I cannot wait.
Oh, I can't wait either. Highlights cut July the 4th. I'm there.
Wow. Oh my God. Yeah.
Excellent. Tanya Burr, thank you so much for joining us here at Stella Live.
Thank you.
Have an amazing weekend and pour yourself a big glass of something. Thank you to all our viewers and for all your lovely questions.
Thank you, Marianne. Been so nice to chat to you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.